Well, we're back. Thanks for stopping by. I'm gonna replace this handle. Actually, I got this. This is a 10-pound sledge. It was made in the U.S. It's probably made with some pretty decent steel. Probably came across the Great Lakes. Anyway, I got this wood handle up at the hardware store, and it's covered with shellac or lacquer or varnish. This one is actually made in the U.S. It says for sledges, it's 36 inches long. It's an Ames True Temper, made in the U.S. It says for sledges from 6 to 16. Well, that puts us about in the middle. And it's hickory. And I had to look long and hard at the handles for two reasons. The main reason was I had to look long and hard to find one that had a grain that went this way. A lot of them, scarily enough, went this way, which is just stupid. So, and I had to look long and hard to find one that was reasonably straight. And I had to look long and hard for one that had the wedge, the wooden wedge and the steel wedge. Half of them didn't have the parts they were supposed to. What's up with that? Anyway, this is the names. They also make fiberglass handles, which are $1 more. I paid $13.95 plus some tax, wherever it disappeared to. And this is the victim, and the handle's been knocked out of it. It's pretty rusty. This part here is the eye. And this one actually is technically an oval eye, and if you look at that, it doesn't go straight through. If you looked at this sideways, if we sliced this in half, it would have a kind of a hourglass shape. This is real exaggerated. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of test fit this. Now, the reason I'm doing this is I've got two other videos with how to put a handle on a sledgehammer and some information about them. If you don't want to listen to the information, you just feel free to go ahead a little bit. They're both fiberglass, how to install a fiberglass handle. The first one was kind of an off-the-cuff video. And the second one was because I had a number of requests for people that didn't see all of the process and bellyached about it, so I did it, and it's a quite long video. Then I had a number of people that didn't like it being so long, because we apparently like to watch what I call short attention span theater. And a number of people bellyached because it was a fiberglass handle, not a wood one. I've got quite a few videos, and those two videos caused me the most trouble. They're the most complained about and bellyached about and probably disliked, and I really don't care. So what I'm going to do here is see if this will fit. I went ahead and installed this in here, and I pushed that down, and it fits reasonably well. It should come up a little ways. Actually, it should come up a long ways. And this part ought to, wherever it is, there it is. This ought to sit down in this. This is the shoulder here. It ought to sit down further. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take probably a file and sand this down carefully to get that to fit. I'd like to have this head, wherever it's at. Sorry, I'm backwards and upside downy. I'd like to have this head clear down here. So a little whittling is in order. So we'll do a little trimming and see what we can get going here. Take it easy. Okay, before I get to chopping on this, if you look at this, this actually has a gradual taper. And that head looks like it stopped about in here. So I need to come down pretty far. So I'm going to take this curve out of there and kind of work. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to refit this head and get a pencil or a Sharpie and draw where that goes. I'm going to tap that on there as far as I can go. Okay. Well, what I've done is I've taken a block of wood, put on the end here, like that, and taking another little sledgehammer and tap that down as hard as I could get it to go. It went pretty far down. This is poking out of the top pretty far. But it doesn't fill that up very much, so I'm going to take and just draw a line around there with the Sharpie. And I'm going to go inside and use my belt sander after I knock this loose. Okay. So I got a nice little line there. I want to come down pretty far, down into here. So I'm going to shape that on my belt sander. You could use a file or maybe a little portable belt sander. Just be careful, don't get too much. And I'll be back. Okie dokie. I came down pretty far. And then I kind of contoured all that. Came down about the width of my finger, I believe, before the belt broke. So let's test fit that. Oh, let's see how that does. I widen this baby out. It's about as wide as it's gonna get. Well, let me draw a line on there. Take this off. This is one of those trial and error things where you got to do it a few times. Well, I didn't come down very far at all, so I need a little more sanding. I'll be back. Well, I've decided to use the trusty pocket knife to whittle that baby down. I don't know if you can see that or not. I've come down, I don't know, not a lot. Okay, we're gonna keep whittling. Okie dokie. Well, I've got that trimmed, and it fit pretty tight. I had a hell of a time pounding it this far down. That eye is completely filled by that wood there, and I kept pounding it, marking it till it wouldn't go any further. Okay. What I've done here is I've taken and sanded this to a pretty fine point. This is the wood wedge. It gets driven in first, and it goes in between that slot you saw on the top. And I trimmed it so it fits pretty tight. So let's see if we can get it to start. It's hanging in there. And I'm driving it in so it's straight. One of the things I did was, after I got that all on there, I made darn sure that it was even in the eye and that it looked, I checked it with a square so it looked like it was pretty much square on there, both this way and this way. And it's pretty in good shape. I'm going to tap this wedge down. Okie dokie. I don't think that's going to go any further. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that off, and then wherever it disappeared to, it's around here somewhere. I'll drive that steel, there's a steel wedge, but I'll drive it in 90 degrees to this wood wedge. We'll be back. Okay. Well, I've centered that up and pounded that in there, and it's pretty flush. I'm going to take this little punch and drive it down some more. This is an old Craftsman punch that I broke the tip on, but just shortened up. Probably not useful for too much else, but they'll work just fine for this. Okie dokie. It doesn't really want to go in there much further. It actually kind of, I guess, dented the wood, or the metal for lack of a better word. That just locks it in. So I'd say we're ready to go. So there you go. Now, from here on out, you're at your own, kind of your own devices. What I'm going to do is I'm going to seal this up with some glue, epoxy, two-part epoxy. And the reason is, it'll keep the wood from drying out. You could put linseed oil in there to swell the wood even more, but I'm just going to seal it to keep it from getting in there. And I'll put a little bead of epoxy around the, it didn't come out right, did it? Anyway, the eye there. I'm going to go ahead and take this finish off with some, probably some sandpaper. I think this might be a varnish finish. I'm going to refinish it with linseed oil. It'll soak into the wood. Well, at least it came from a sustainable wood forest. The reason it didn't come from a non-sustainable wood forest is there aren't any real trees left. Okay. We should be ready to go for another 100,000 miles. One thing you didn't see me do was I took and sanded the inside of this with a wire brush, real careful. Lock it all in. I'll sand all this off with the wire wheel. Tape it up after all the glue is dried and my finish is on there, and tape it up real careful. And then I'll probably paint this after I sand it off. There's the mark. It's 10 pounds. 10 pounds ready to go. So, I guess there you go. You could have spent $840 plus tax to buy a brand new sledgehammer that has a hickory handle, or you could have spent $13.95 and spent, I don't know, an hour out of your life. Yeah, probably would have took less if I hadn't stopped the camera 100 times. But it's always fun, and if you do this yourself, you learn something. Put a price on that. And if it breaks again, you just get another handle. So there you go, how to put a wood handle on a sledgehammer. Now you can write your name on it. Years ago, a long time ago, people made something. They used to put a guild mark on things. It was kind of the union label. Remember that? You look for the union label? I do. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with having a lot of pride in your work. So go ahead and do this. You won't regret it. If you need any questions, have any questions, need any help, or have a comment, feel free to leave it. If you'd like to join my channel, I've got other videos and do other things besides put handles on old tools. You never know what you might find there. I do kind of mechanical and electromechanical and electronic and electrical things, but you never know. You might find something else there. It might be useful in everyday life. So there you go. Go out and do some work. Be proud of it. Take her easy. Thanks a lot.